Alrighty, good evening again. I am on the ball with making movies for this math unit apparently. So now we're going to talk about rounding to the nearest 10. This is also another concept that your child will have on their math test for Unit 5. Whenever we talk about rounding to the nearest 10, we're talking about the answer being something in a number that you will be using when you count by tens. So your answer options are going to be 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. It can go up to any number as long as the last two digits end in the counting by tens. So the first thing I'm going to do is start off with an example story that I start off with as well with the class. And this is also the example that I do give in class. It kind of gets the students laughing. It's a silly little story. So we say that pretend like you're walking outside and you're here at house 32. And this is where the kids start laughing. We say you really have to go to the bathroom and you can't hold it any longer. And you don't know who lives here at house 32, but you know somebody who lives at house 30, and you know someone who lives at house 40. Which house are you going to go to? And the students always start off by saying, you go to the house number 30 because 32 is closer to 30 and not 40. And what we tell them is you just rounded. Basically what you're doing is you're taking a number and you're telling me whether it's closest to the 10 before it or the 10 that comes after it. We know that 32 comes in between the numbers 30 and 40, and we just have to talk about which one it's closer to. So now I'm going to bring you down here to this little number line that I drew, and we use the number line a lot when we're talking about rounding, and we talk about whenever we round any number where the ones place has a 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0, it's going to round down. So for example, the 32 has a 2 in the ones place, it's going to round down to 30. It's not going to round up to 40. Any number that has a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 is going to round up. So if this number was 35, 36, 37, 38, or 39, it would round up to the next 10, which is 40. So I hope that that helps to make a little bit of sense. So we teach two different strategies for rounding, and I'm going to show you both of them. So the first strategy that we have is the number line strategy. So if the students were given the question, what is 57 rounded to the nearest 10? They could draw a number line. And we always remember when we draw a number line, you have to draw 11 lines, not 10 lines, 11. And the first thing we do is whenever we see 57, we have to think, what two tens does 57 come between? If you want to prompt your child, if you're working on this with them, you want to say, is it between 0 and 10? Is it between 10 and 20? Is it between 20 and 30? And so on. If your child does think that it's between something that you know is not correct, have them count. So, for example, if they said it's between 30 and 40, say, all right, the number's 57. Let's count from 30 to 40 and see if you hear 57, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and so on. Once they reach the end, they'll say, oh yeah, we didn't say 57. And you'll say, so you know that it's not between 30 and 40, and eventually you should get your child prompted to say it's between the numbers 50 and 60. One thing that we like to say that we teach students is 57. If you're rounding to the nearest 10, what's the tens place? What's the value of this 5? 50. That's the very first number on your number line. Okay, so now what we need to do is we don't need to worry about filling in all of these numbers. We just need to find 57. So let's go 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57. Let's put a big old dot here and write 57. Now we need to just take a look. This is a very good, easy visual. We need to say, is 57 closer to 50 or is 57 closer to 60? And hopefully your child will be able to look at this and say, oh, 57 is closer to 60. Therefore, 57 to the nearest 10 equals 60. Whenever we round 57 to the nearest 10, we know that it's 60. We can go back up and check. The ones place has a 7. Whenever we look at our number line, we know that a 7 rounds up. It didn't round down to 50, it rounded up to 60. So now let's go to the next strategy that we have, which is called next door neighbor. I don't really know why it's called that. I think we just named it that. It's not a real term. So we're going to say, what is 73 rounded to the nearest 10? Students need to write the number 73 nice and big. And they need to say, okay, what am I rounding here? I need to underline the place that I'm rounding to. And the place that we're rounding to is the tens. We know that this is the ones place. And we know that this is the tens place. So we need to underline this 10 because this is the number that's either going to stay the same or change. We're going to circle this 3 and say this is the guy that we're looking at to tell us whether this guy rounds up to the nearest 10 or rounds down to the nearest 10. So this 3 is going to help us make our decision as to whether this 7 stays a 7 by rounding down or goes up to the next number. So the first thing the students need to do is they need to kind of draw a little V, and a little upside down V. And basically this step that they're doing is the same step that they do when they give their number line both of the ends numbers. So we look at the 7 and say, okay, what's the value of that 7? Well, we know that 7 tens, if we count by tens, 7 tens is 70. That's the lowest that this is going to be. And we know that 10 more than 70 is 80. So we know that 73 is in between 70 and 80. So our answer is going to be either 70 or 80. Now, this is the same thing that we do, we just don't draw it on a number line. If your students still need this visual, it's okay, they can do that. This is just something that is a little bit of a time saver and doesn't really take as long to do. But if your child does not understand this, don't push it. This will come in time. Maybe they're just not there yet. If they understand this, don't push this if it's something that's confusing them. Just work on this with them until they have it down. So moving back over here, we took a look. We said, okay, we know that the value of 7 is 70, and we know that 10 more than 70 is 80. Does this 3 make the 7 go down, or does this 3 make the 7 round up to 80? Let's go up to our number line and take a look. So we're looking for the number 3. We know that 0 through 4 rounds down and 5 through 9 rounds up. Where is my 3? There's my 3. 3 is smaller than 4, and we know that any number 0 through 4 rounds down. So let's take a look. If we have the 70, it's going to round down to 70. 73 is closer to 70. If you were to come up here, make this a 70 and an 80, this would be 73, it's closer to 70. If this were to be a 70 and an 80, 73 would be right here, and then that would be closer to 70. So we're making sure that the students understand that we're just looking in this one place to see if the tens place goes down or goes up. So therefore our answer is 73 rounds to 70 whenever we're looking at the nearest 10. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I would be more than happy to do another example for you. Have a great night.